252, what's up? It's another week of What's the Word. If you missed week 1, I think we're on week 4. So if you missed the first 3 weeks, go back and watch them. They've been super duper good conversations. And if this is your first time joining us for What's the Word, this is pretty much just a conversation. We just talk about life. We talk about anything and everything. But right now we're on relationships. So you can go ahead and sit tight right where you're at. Because we all deal with relationships, whether it's a friendship or a romantic relationship or your family. We're all dealing with people each and every day. And if you're like me, people sometimes get on my nerves. So it's always good to figure out how to deal with people. Last night's service, we talked about friendships and how to choose our friends wisely, which I believe is a big thing, especially for us, for those of you in high school. So that's what we're going to talk about tonight, friendships. So stick around. It's only going to be about 30 minutes, but you're going to get a lot of information. A lot of knowledge drops, and so just hang out. If you aren't subscribed to our YouTube channel, go ahead and subscribe right now so that way you can get all the latest information on what's going on. So first I want to start off with just asking you what's your definition of a friendship? Like, what is a friend? Let's start with some clarity on what exactly we're talking about.
That's a great question. To me, a friend is someone that I can honestly rely on, not to judge me. That's gonna be there for me. You know, somebody I can call and be like, hey, this is happening. Something, you know, some things you don't like talking to your parents about or something like that. And, you know, you can really just, that person's just always gonna be there for you, no matter what. To me, that's a friend.
That's good. That's the definition I would use. It's just someone that you can rely on to help you out and encourage you and be there for anything that you need, and never goes away, just kind of hangs out with you. And I think a good friend too is someone that you don't always have to like be in contact with. Like, they're there like even if like seasons get busy, because as you get older you're gonna get busier and busier, and you don't always have the same time as you do in high school for friendships. Like, because in high school you see your friends every day.
Exactly.
Like, you see the people that you're with every day, but as you get into college, as you get older, you know, life takes over, and I think those true friendships are tested during those times.
Definitely.
So I think a true friend is someone who doesn't feel like you guys always have to be in contact with each other. So now that we have some clarity on friendships, let's dig a little deeper. I personally am somebody who's very introverted. Friendships are actually very hard for me to make. Believe it or not, I'm very to myself. So for our introverted people out there and our people who, you know, don't have all those friends, do you think it's important that we all have a few good friends, or is it okay to be a loner and stick to yourself?
I think both are fine. Honestly, I think that you can definitely be a loner. I'm not. Mm-hmm. I'm such a people person. I love going out, like hanging out with my friends. I love meeting new people, but it's definitely okay to have those alone times. You know, just be with yourself, be alone with God. But definitely have those people that are good for you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that are, you know, always gonna give you good energy, good vibes, and that, you know, make you smile.
Yeah.
So definitely.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think that like we all need people.
Yeah.
And like I think that like you can't do it alone. And I think that a lot of people get into the mindset where they just think, I don't need anybody. Like, I'm okay, I got this by myself.
Yeah.
But I really do believe that we all need somebody. And you know, maybe your friends are your parents right now. But maybe you should find some other friends. I'm just joking. If your friends are your parents, that's totally okay. I was there for a while. My dad actually is like my best friend. But I feel like we all need people that we can talk to, that we can bounce ideas off of, people who will call us out on things. And if you're just by yourself, then you're alone with your thoughts. You're the only person who can encourage you, and sometimes, you know, we're not the best encouragers to ourselves. So I feel that friendships are extremely vital. So if you're a loner, be intentional with your relationships. Try and make at least one friend this school year. Just make one, or at least half a friend. Just make like half a friend. I don't know what that is, but make half a friend. Do something. But for our people who are not introverts and have a lot of friends, I feel like too many friends can be a problem too.
Yeah.
So what's your take on having too many friends?
My take on having too many friends. Okay, so for me, I really think that you have to watch the energy. I don't really remember where it is, but it's definitely in the Bible. It says, watch the company that you keep, because, you know, those spirits can get on you. So definitely, sorry, I'm getting tongue-tied. But there was a time where I really just wanted to fit in with certain people and like be a part of this group, and it was fine until this one girl wanted to start drama. So just in general, just really watch the type of people that you have around you. It's okay to have a lot of people, but sometimes it's not.
Yeah.
The energy's off. So definitely be careful with that.
I talked about this last night. Jesus had only 12 disciples, and I think it's very important that he only allowed 12 to walk with him and only allowed 12 to really see his true character. And 12 that he really talked to, that he really dug in deeper with. And even inside of the 12, he had Peter, James, and John, which I think it's like a very good example of how to keep your circle small. And I think you can't please everybody. And so if you're having a lot of friends, one, you're gonna get tired of like having to hang out with so many people. And I just think it's better because also if you keep your circle small, you're gonna know those people better. And I truly believe that you can't tell everyone everything about you. Like you can't let everybody know, because if you have all these friends and you don't truly know any of them, then you're just talking to people, and they don't always have your best interests at heart. They don't always love you the way that you love them. I remember when I think I was in high school. I might have been like my freshman year, but I was in basketball. So when you get into high school, it's freshman team, junior varsity team, and then varsity team. And I was really good. You know, I was super athletic. Maybe it was my sophomore year, because my sophomore year I was playing junior varsity and varsity. And so there was a lot of girls. There was probably like 24 of us all together. And I found myself trying to be friends with each and every one of them. And then there was this group that didn't like this group, and that group that didn't like that group. So I found myself stuck in the middle. And I really wish I would have realized then that like I didn't need to be friends with each and every one of them. It was probably more of an insecurity, like I wanted everyone to like me. But I think it's important to really keep your circle small. So keep your circle small. So, you know, I was just thinking about this too. My mind is just everywhere. I just be thinking about things. We all have friendships, and sometimes we have bad friendships. Sometimes we have relationships that, you know, we really shouldn't be involved in. But I find myself a lot of times still sticking around those friendships and still kind of hanging out with those people, even though I know, like, man, that's probably isn't a good idea. So why do you think it's so hard for us to let go of those friendships? Like, let go of people that really aren't that great for us?
I think in general, some people try to remember the good in those people and just try to be like, oh, you know, I know they're doing this right now, but maybe they won't do it again later. Or, you know, like just hoping that they don't be like that forever.
Yeah.
You know, me personally, I'm the type of person where you do something wrong the first time, you gotta go. I can't, I'm such a protect my energy type of person where I can't allow myself to be around somebody that's making me feel bad. I had this one friend, I hope she don't get mad if she sees this, but I had this one friend we were friends for like, maybe like a little bit before freshman year until now. And out of nowhere, she just stopped talking to me. And I didn't know, you know, I don't know the side. I'm like calling, trying to see what's going on, like, what's happening to you? Like, is everything okay? And she's not answering. So my initiative to do is to go and make sure that person's alive. But before I do the extreme, I'm like, you know, let me call her friends, and she's talking to them. So I'm like, okay, so you're talking to other people, but you're not talking to me. So to me, I'm just like, well, maybe you don't want to talk to me anymore, so that's fine. But, you know, turns out people are really dealing with their own issues, and it's not your place to like try to fix them. It's your place to be there for them if they need you. But you don't have to put yourself in a position that something like that's going to tear you down and take away who you are, who you want to be, because you're trying to be there for that person, but that person won't let you be there. Then don't take yourself through that struggle.
That's good. I'm definitely on the opposite side. I'm more of a stick around trying to see the best in people, and sometimes I found myself like knowing people weren't good for me, and not that they're bad people, you know, they just we're just not friends like I thought we were friends, and sometimes that can happen too. Is they're not necessarily bad for you, but they're not really helping you either. So that's an important distinction to make, because people aren't bad. They just, sometimes it's just not meant to be. But I find myself a lot of times, still trying to make it work. Like, I don't know why I do that, but I end up hurting, and I end up being in a lot of pain, and then, I go down a rabbit hole, like, well, why aren't we friends? Why can't they be friends with me? Like, what is it about me that, they don't want to hang out with? And so I'm definitely the type to stick around those people that make me feel that way, just because, like, I think, it's probably, now that I'm like, because, okay, side note, I get a lot of revelation, and I understand a lot of things when I speak out loud. So a lot of times when I'm saying things, I'm like, oh, that's why. Yeah. But I feel like I probably do that because before I walk away from the relationship, I want to feel good, and I want to feel adequate. So I'm probably waiting for that sense of confirmation, and then I'm like, oh, now I can walk away. But that's not the way it works, because people aren't going to live up to your expectations, which leads me to my next question. What should you expect from your friends? Should you have any expectations on your friends? Like, should you put any expectations on somebody else, or is that too much because they're probably never going to live up to what you have?
That's a great question. Okay, so my brother told me once not to have high hopes, like not to have so many expectations for a person. But I also heard before is, what you think about, you bring about. So it's a battle, because it's like you want to have these expectations for these people that you love and these people that come in your life, but you also don't want to get let down. So it's like, where's that balance? I think for me, you want to think that this is going to be a good person, and you want to put that good energy towards it. Like, we're going to have a good friendship or relationship, whatever the case may be. But don't put so much on that person, like, like randomly, it's like, I want him to be this, or I want her to be this for me, and because it doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
It's a give and take type of thing, and you have to make sure you're at a certain place in your life so that you're not bringing that person down. So you gotta have common ground. So to answer the question, don't put too many expectations. I would say that.
That's good.
Can have some, but don't rely on that.
Yeah.
So
I think it's good to have a few expectations, just so that way people aren't walking all over you.
Right.
It's good to have like a base level, but don't like have them all the way up here where you're like expecting like I don't even know what. But yeah. So I'm a like I said before, I'm an introvert. I'm actually pretty weird. I'm half introverted, and I feel like I'm half extroverted because I love people.
I feel that.
And I'm like, I like hanging out with people.
Yeah.
And I can talk, and like I love conversations, but there's a certain point where I'm like, okay, I'm ready to go. Like I'm done with the conversation. I'm ready to go chill with myself. But I don't know if this is an introverted thing, so I want to ask this question. Has there ever been a time where you've been around a group of people and you felt lonely and you felt like extremely just like not getting the energy you wanted?
I honestly, I wouldn't say lonely. I would say out of place for certain things. So I haven't felt the question you're asking, but I have felt out of place in certain times in my life where I'm like you said earlier, like trying to make yourself fit in with a group or something like that, and it's just not working. And sometimes, going again on base what you said earlier, sometimes being around a certain crowd and trying to get them to like you and stuff, and they don't. You have to be okay with that, because sometimes they know that they're not the company that's good for you, but you don't really figure that out yet. You're just like, oh, I want to be with them and I want to hang out with them, but in reality, that's not what God wants you to do. That type. Whatever they're doing is not meant for you.
That's really good.
With that.
Yeah.
So, I'm sorry to answer your question.
No, that reminded me of something else. I think that's a feeling out of place somewhere. I think it's another way of not having peace about your situation. Yeah. And if you don't have peace when you're around a certain group of people, you probably shouldn't be with that certain group of people. That's a huge indicator. I remember times, and one of the things about life is you feel certain things when you're there, and you don't realize what those feelings meant until you're like 6 months later, or like even a few years later, and you're looking back and you're like, Oh, that's what that meant.
Yeah.
That's why I was feeling that way.
Yeah.
But I think having peace when you're with your friends. Oh man, high school, man. I'm just gonna keep going back to high school. I remember trying so hard around a certain group of people and trying to be friends with them, and being around all these people, and I felt so out of place. But the thing is, I felt out of place, but that just made me try harder to try to fit into the place. And I think that really hurt me in a lot of areas. And I honestly, it's been a lot throughout my life, even in elementary. I can remember all the way to elementary school, like being around a certain group of people and feeling so out of place. Because I think that even when you're young, like even for those of you that are older, your younger brothers and sisters can feel like God telling them not to be somewhere. You don't have to be freaking 20 years old to know, to have those feelings. So yeah, I've definitely felt out of place before. So when you're making friends, are there certain things that you look for, like in friendships? Like or like certain qualities that you look for in people, like, oh yeah, we'd be good friends, or is it kind of just like?
It's both. It is kind of just like, it just happens, but I think when I'm talking to people and I'm like, this could be a good friend, is if the conversation is easy, because sometimes I get stuck and I can talk a lot, but sometimes I'll get stuck and I'll just be quiet. I need somebody that's gonna like bring the conversation back,
yeah.
But also, I don't know, it's just a genuine light of happiness that I really just like to be around. So that's pretty much the only quality, feel good. If you're a happy person, you have good vibes. Let's be friends.
I'm like a really big, like, I think relationships, friendships, I think they're so vital in our life and they're so important. And we place a lot of emphasis on being careful who you date, but I don't think we place enough emphasis on being careful who you're friends with, because I think that like we're sitting here and we're talking about friendships, and I think that there's probably a lot of people out there like, what's the big deal? What's the whole point? Why are you spending a whole 30 minutes talking about friendships? Like, it's not really that big of a deal. So like, do you think it's like that big of a deal? Like, we should continue?
Yeah, I definitely think it's a big deal, because I feel like relationships with a guy or a girl, they are very important, but you're always gonna run back to who to tell them about it, And,
wow, that's really good.
And when you have those people that you're going back to talk to, are they helping you? Any relationship, friends and dating relationship. Another thing I'm looking for also is somebody that's higher than me. I've always been around people that have goals, that are going places, that have traveled or whatever, that are in their spiritual journeys and whatever the case is. I never really want to meet somebody. It's okay if you are where I'm at, but I don't want to stay there. I always want to grow. So I'm always around somebody that's working hard towards something that they love to do or whatever it is. But I was always taught to be around people that are smarter than you, that are older than you, that have more money than you. Not for the money, but just because of, how they got to where they are in their life. So I think that's very, very important. And friendships are very important, because some people don't really have your back, and you can go and tell them something and they're like, don't do that, because they have a different motive. So be careful who you let in your circle, and also be careful who you date.
Yeah. I think that's you said something, you're going to be with somebody, but who you run back to is very important. And that like right there, that's why you need to be careful about who your friends are, because I think we live in a world right now where nobody wants to be wrong. So like, you surround yourself with people who agree with you, and people who are like gonna hype you up. Like
yes people.
Yeah. And so like, not to I know we got no dudes here to like what's the word I'm looking for, to like, now I'm gonna have to sit here and think of the word, to defend the guys. I know we got no guys here to defend the guys, but I feel like a lot of guys, and I don't know how true this is, which is why I'm gonna be careful, but like, guys will cheat on their girlfriends, and the guys won't say anything. Like, they don't tell them, they don't call them out, they don't like,
they don't say anything.
They don't say nothing. So like,
you got this.
Okay,
dude.
Okay,
it's
bro.
More of a hype up.
Yeah.
Like, it's a cool thing to do, and it's so weird to me.
It's so weird to me. I'm always like, what?
But
But
they're mad when girls cheat. Like, are you mad?
yeah, So especially for you guys out there, don't have those friends. Like, have friends that hold you accountable and are, not only encouraging you, but also like telling you like, hey, that probably wasn't a great idea, or they're not afraid to call you out, or they're not afraid to tell you what's up and like be like, look, that wasn't okay. I have my sisters. My sisters are honestly my best friend. I know it's cute, right? I've got 3 sisters, and we always talk about how like we can talk to each other, but at the same time we can call each other out for anything. And I know that there aren't a lot of my sisters and my relationships. I feel like it's kind of strange, but we can call each other out for anything, and we'll get upset with each other, but we always come back and we're always cool. Like, you can call me out for that, like that's okay. And I think that's so important to have with your friends, is like, we can get mad, or like I can get mad that you called me out for that, but coming back and saying you were right. And so I think having those types of friends is extremely, extremely important. Like I said, friendships are so vital, man. I just wish everybody could like grasp the concept on choosing your friends wisely. Last night I talked a bit about a few points on what to look for in your friends, and one thing that I talked about was find friends who don't tear down your dreams. Find friends that don't get jealous when you start to grow above them. I said that, I think I've said this a few times, but there's people out there who are going to encourage you and are going to support you up until you get to a certain level. Because I feel like people are okay with looking eye level at you, but they never want to look up at you.
Wow.
So my question is, how do you deal with friends that are jealous and friends that are like do you cut them off, or do you try and work with them? Because it's obviously an insecurity. They obviously are dealing with other stuff. So do you love them through their insecurity, or do you protect yourself and say, look, I can't have this, like where I'm gonna go, so.
Yeah. I would say yes and no, as far as do you love them through it? I'm the type of person where I've never really cut anybody off without talking to them first. Communication is key.
Hello.
You have to talk to them first. So, just ask them like, hey, Oh, another thing too, work in silence. You don't have to tell everybody what you're doing. Everybody's like, oh, so what do you want to do? You can say something, but you don't have to tell them everything.
Yeah.
Work in silence, okay?
Yeah.
Work in silence. So back to I like what you said. People like looking at eye level but not looking up. Woo, that was a good one. Definitely talk to them about it. Just if they're your friend, you guys can sit down and have a mature conversation and just tell them like, hey, I feel like you weren't really supporting me in when I told you that I got this promotion or something like that. Mm-hmm. And if they can't, be like, okay, well, yeah, you were right. I'm sorry. I'm just going through this or whatever. And it's like an attitude, then maybe it's time to move on. You don't, like I said earlier, you don't have to drain yourself to make somebody like you or something like that. Like, it's not necessary.
I think that's another good point. We were talking about feeling out of place is a good indicator. I think also when you're communicating to somebody and they're not receiving what you're saying, like they don't have to agree with what you're saying, but if they're not receiving it like in a mature way and understanding where you're coming from, I think that, first of all, I think that's huge. I think your friends should be able to hear you out. I think that's so important. So if you're having a conversation and they're just like, they're not hearing a word you're saying, and now don't cut them off at the first conversation, but like if you've had a few and it's not going anywhere, then it's like, all right, well, I tried. This isn't a friendship that's gonna work out for me. Communication, man. Communication is so important on every aspect. If you don't know how to communicate, take some communication classes, because you need to learn how to communicate just to survive in life. But you got any advice for any of our high schoolers out there, or college students, or middle schoolers? I don't really know how old the people are watching this, but just give them. It doesn't even have to be about friendships. We're ending our relationship series, so
I think in general, going forth, sometimes you don't have to cut a person completely off. Sometimes that's just somebody that you don't need to talk to every day, every month. That's just somebody that you can be you have to know how to be cordial with people, okay? So that's one thing. Also, again, protect your peace. If you feel like something is off, It is. There's no probably. It is. God is trying to tell you something, that something is off. And, you know, it's okay to be by yourself. You don't always have to be around a lot of people. I think so many people get caught up in that when they want to be popular and they want to have so many friends and they want to go out all the time. You don't always need that. My circle is very small and I'm content with that. I'm okay with that. You don't need 100 people surrounding you to make you feel okay, you know? So just in general, be okay with who you are. Make sure the people that you have around you are people that are going to push you to be the best you. It's a give and take. Y'all have to be pushing each other to be the best that you can be. And just pure love in anything that you do.
Yeah. Good. That's good stuff right there. Rewind that and watch it again and take some notes on what you just said. I agree with not cutting people completely off. I'm a big believer in that you can still love people from a distance. Not everybody has to be your friend. Not everybody has to be you don't have to be close with everybody, but you can still talk to everybody, you know? I think your friends, like we said, are people that are helping you and encouraging you and that you're talking to. So even if they're not that, you can still love them. You can still, you know, text them that they're an encouraging text message, you know, stuff like that. But that's the word for this week. That is what's the word. This is week 4. But this is the end to our relationships. I know, I'm sad. I hope you're sad because this has been great. I'm very, very sad. I love this. But go back, watch every week. Even if you've already watched them, you might catch something that you might have missed in the past few weeks. But we love you. We will see you. Share this with a friend. Tell them that they need help in their friendships. So, see you soon. We're back. We were sitting here for 5 seconds and we realized that there's a question that we definitely need to address because of the world we're living in. Tiara, she's standing behind the camera. I'm gonna give her credit to the question because it's a really good question. She said, how do you deal with friends who aren't Christian? And I think that's very, very important. So what's your take on how do you deal with friends who aren't Christian?
Okay, how do you deal with friends that aren't Christian? Okay, so you have to love them through whatever they're going through. You know, there are a lot of people that I feel that, you know, call themselves believers and, you know, are Christians and stuff. I won't say call, but are. I'm so sorry. But are still very judgmental. And that's not just, you know, in the Christianity. That's everybody. I think what sets certain people apart from other people is that we still love them and we're not judging them. You have to make that conscious choice in your head when you're talking to somebody to turn all that judgmental stuff off and talk to them for who they are and love them for who they are. And what you're giving them is going to shift something in them naturally.
That's really good.
You know, that's what I feel. And just pray. Just pray for them.
Yeah.
You know, if they'll be fine.
Yeah.
Just pray for them.
I think
that's what I do.
I think that's great. The best thing you could do for anybody is pray for them.
Yeah.
We talked about this a little bit last week, is that you can't change anybody. You can influence people and you can show them Jesus, but at the heart of it, you can't change anybody. So if you're trying to change people and you're trying to change your friends, you already have the whole wrong mindset. I think it's very important to love people, like she just said, right where they're at. They might be the only Jesus, you might be the only Jesus that they ever see. So if their only encounter with Jesus is that he's trying to change every single little thing about me and I don't want to change, then they're going to be turned off immediately. So you got to love them, you got to be there for them, and through that love and through that non-judgmental, they're going to be like, oh, what is this? And you're giving space for Jesus to move and for the Holy Spirit to move. And that's all we're called to do, is to give us place for Jesus to actually change people and to actually move people's hearts. Also, I want to say this, people if they're not Christian, don't give advice where they haven't asked for it. So, because people, they feel like we're trying to throw Jesus down their throat, but all we're trying to do is like, this is what I've been through and this is the things I've experienced. But if they're not looking for it, don't give it, because they're not even going to receive it. They're going to be immediately turned off. But loving people, and because I'm also a firm believer in don't avoid them. You have to. Jesus went where they were.
Yes.
He went where the non-Christians were. That was his favorite place to be. And so we can't avoid them. We have to love them. We have to be by them. We have to be friends with them because they're not going to see Jesus outside. If they never see a Christian, they're never going to see Jesus. So be friends with them is my piece of advice.
Yeah, I would say to add on to that real quickly is just remember where you were when you found Christ. Was somebody
really
like forcing you? No, it was just genuine love and grace.
Yeah.
They didn't know all things about you. They weren't trying to force you into it. It was you coming into it by yourself. And like she said, I love that. Give space for God. Again, what I'm saying, don't force it. Let God do all of the work. You're doing some of it, but God is really working through you. Let him work through you.
Yeah.
There was something else I wanted to add to that, but I forgot now. Yeah, it's okay.
It's okay. Well, we're officially done for real now.
Yeah.
We'll see you soon.
Oh, why couldn't I think of what I was about to say?
It's okay.
Jeez.
Okay, that was really good.
Yeah, that was a good question.
So is that the first tape was split into 2 files?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think they're usually like 25 minutes each.
Okay.
My dryer died. Oh, wow. Cool.
What happened?
My dryer, like for my clothes, it doesn't work anymore.
Oh.
Wow.
Okay.
So that's great. Okay, cool.
This shot was beautiful because it like cut the sides for you and everything.
That's my favorite shot. Well, this was fun. Thank you.
Thanks for